really what I want to do now is I want to build a fleet of 10 Teslas to start with, and I'm going to turn on FSD when it's ready, and those are going to go work for me. And I'm assuming there's going to be challenges and things that I don't really understand, but ultimately that's what my goal is to start with that. You have to be prepared for the future, and I think there's a huge opportunity here to make semi-passive income. What happens if I was a physician and OpenAI Medical came out and could diagnose anything with more accuracy than me? And I have all that.
No wait time,
right.
No co-pays.
Right, and that's just a better scenario for the customer, and so the customer is going to choose that, and my advice and my expertise and all my energy and all my effort has now been kind of relegated down to nothing, or not as worth as much. It's become commoditized.
Cool. Well, I'm sitting here with my great friend Dustin Lester, our first interview in our new studio. I'm so excited to have you, man. Thanks for being here.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
It's awesome.
It's fun to be here. This place is cool.
Thanks, man. I'm glad you're here.
I like it.
It's an honor to have you be our first guest. And so we want to dive into this concept that Dustin's been schooling me on for a couple months now. Got me to buy another Tesla. Not that that's the goal, but
Right.
You watch this event. I don't want to take too much away from it, but there's this big movement about these robo-taxis and what Tesla's going to be doing. And so I wanted you to just share your take on it and really what you're building and why you're building it.
Okay. So if you are talking about, there's an autonomy event in October of 2024 where Tesla unveiled their robo-taxis, this weird-looking, cool van, and all their robots went out and interacted with people by serving drinks and stuff like that. And so I watched that, but I've been following for a lot of years. But it's just become apparent to me that I think that transportation will change. I have 2 kids. I bought my daughter and my son, for their car while they're driving. I wanted them to have something safe, so I bought them a Model 3, and that was my first Tesla, and I was pretty shocked at how much I loved it. And
I feel like everybody has that experience when they get one for the first time.
Well, I never had one.
Yeah.
I've been a stockholder for a long time, and I made a lot of money. But it's not. I never had the product, and I always believed that it was a good product, but it wasn't ready for me yet because I drive too much and all these other things. And I realized after having that car for just a couple weeks that pretty much all of it was bullshit, and all the reasons that I had for not making the transition were just me not wanting to change because I'm old. But anyways, after having that car for a second, I was like, man, this is going to change the world, because I subscribed to the FSD thing for $100 a month. It was really cheap. And I was like,
what does that get you, FSD?
It just drives me everywhere.
Okay.
So.
Is that full self-driving?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's $100 a month.
Right now it's $100 a month, or $8,000 if you want to buy it. And so there's a lot of conversation around that. But really what ended up becoming apparent to me is that I don't think most kids born today will drive. If they do, it'll be like horse riding, where you get them lessons and you take pictures because it's cute and it's cool, and like, oh, look, look, little Sally can drive.
Or like you take them out on a weekend with a beater car and teach them stick or
something like that.
Not,
or you're gonna like go have a picnic with old muscle cars or something, because again, it's not apparent now because of the way we grew up and everything, but the idea of going out and spending $80,000 or $90,000 on a Tahoe for a family, and all the expenses that come with it and all of those kinds of things, and then it's still just one car. Now you got to go buy another one if you're a big family, and I don't know any family that isn't spending basically 6 figures on automobiles right now. Right. And so if you could get $1 a mile as a value, and you only live 6 miles from work or 8 miles from work, or 2 miles to school, or whatever it is, you're not going to go spend 6 figures on a car. And so really what ended up waking me up was that particular event. I saw it, but I also own the car. And that's kind of like chicken or the egg. I don't really know.
Yeah.
But really what I want to do now is I want to build a fleet of 10 Teslas to start with. And I'm going to turn on FSD when it's ready, and those are going to go work for me. And I'm assuming there's going to be challenges and things that I don't really understand, but ultimately that's what my goal is to start with that. So that's kind of my vision of it. It's like you have to be prepared for the future, and I think there's a huge opportunity here to make semi-passive income. I don't think it'll be passive. I think you'll have to work it and have dispatch and
Right.
infrastructure and a place to keep these cars, and eventually maybe an Optimus robot where we can have that be our certified Tesla technician, right? Because who the hell wants to wait? Right now, it's like 4 weeks for me to get service on my Tesla. Now it's voluntary, what I want to do, but again, it's 4 weeks for me out. Well, that would cost a lot if the service platform for Tesla isn't upgraded for fleet performer or for fleet owners.
Yeah.
Like you can't have your workers out for a month. You can't
Right.
have them, and
Yeah.
so there's certain things that are going to be a challenge. But at the beginning, what I hope to be able to do is I have a building in Tempe. It's got an empty warehouse area that I haven't filled up yet, and my hope is to keep the cars there when they're not being utilized. But most of the time, as long as they're charged, I can't see a reason why they wouldn't want to be at least available for the fleet to be able to go do driverless robo taxis like Waymo.
So what did you see in that event? Because I'm surprised how many people haven't seen that event. And if you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend
Yeah, it's
YouTubing
cool.
it. It's going to be important for you to
Yeah,
watch.
it's autonomy. I think it's It was in October 10th, I believe.
Yeah, it comes right up, and it's a cool event. They got
Right.
the robots working. They got the whole So what was it that you saw in that you were like, I need to go do this?
Well,
Because
there-
you're very, I mean, you basically like analyze investments for a living,
right.
and so you saw this and you're like, I'm taking action.
Yeah, so there's two sides of that. There's the lifestyle side, and then there's the analytical investment side. And so this isn't investment advice. I have to tell that to people
Of
because
course, yeah,
I own an investment firm. But what I looked at was the cost of the asset that could be generating income versus the amount of money that it could make.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you look at a robotaxi at $25,000, and let's say that you finance that,
Mm-hmm.
and then let's say FSD, well, again, a robotaxi is not even going to come with a steering wheel. So it's unclear to me whether full self-driving is going to come with a robotaxi or not. So again, all these what ifs.
Right.
But let's say that it does come with full self-driving, because otherwise it would be a useless car because it has no driving apparatus or FSD. So let's just say it comes with it. For that particular
Because for people who haven't
assumption.
seen the event, it
Right.
doesn't have a steering wheel.
Yeah,
there's no.
it's like a couch. Like
Yeah.
you get into the car, and it's literally like a couch with like a big flat screen TV, and it's the most amazing thing ever.
And there's no pedals.
Right, no
Yeah,
pedals.
it's crazy.
There's no way to move the car at all. And
Yeah.
so, but in a normal like the Tesla you and I own, or,
Yeah.
or anybody else on the road, there's like over 7 million now. You can drive them, but eventually you're just not going to be able to. So let's say that the cost of the software comes included, or maybe it's a subscription. I don't know. But either way, if that car can then go out and work like a Waymo, right now, at least the numbers that I was working off of in my spreadsheet, Waymo reported, I believe, a little over a month ago, maybe 6 weeks now, that they are doing 150,000 rides a week with 700 cars.
Wow.
Okay, so if you do that math, it comes out to like 200 and something rides a week. Okay.
Okay.
Now Waymo's charges are on average about $1.18 a mile.
Okay.
Okay. And then you have charging, you have where you're going to keep the cars, you got maintenance, you got all the other things. But really, when it comes down to it, if you can make $1.18 a mile and the car itself can do 2,000 miles in a week, right?
Right.
Then your car can generate over $2,000 a week of gross income.
That's crazy.
Now
a
that's
week.
a week. Now extrapolate that out into a month, right? Again, if it's January or February, then that's 4 weeks of revenue at 2,000. So that's $8,000 a month that your car generates of gross income. Now there's expenses. So let's say those expenses end up being 40% of that.
Right.
Well, 8 times 4, 32. So really, when you really get down to it, your car is still generating like 4,700 a month net of income. Or if I did the math wrong, then sorry, but ultimately you're generating almost 5,000 a month of income net if your expenses are
40%.
40%.
And that's per car.
per car. So if you have 10 of them, that's 50,000
How much does
a
it
week,
cost you to get a car?
a month. Well, it depends. So you can get an old car from like Hertz, rent a car, that's 2 years old with 80,000 miles on it. And that car is going to cost in the mid 20s. You can go 2018, 2019, but these have old software in them. So the software that they have, or sorry, not software, the old hardware that they have in them is called Hardware 3. And it's the first generation of the hardware and the computer system and the chips and everything that they used for the full self-driving software. there's new software, or there's new hardware though called hardware 4 in most of the new cars. If you subscribe to FSD, my assumption is, because this is what Elon has said, is that they would replace that hardware for free.
Wow.
But you have to subscribe to FSD, which costs $8,000. So that
Or
make, I mean,
$100 a month.
or $100. Well, again, once it's fully functioning, will it cost $100 a month?
Right.
So right now, that's my biggest question: is do
Yeah.
I spring and just pay the 8,000 per car, or it
Oh.
could go to 16? We don't control the
Yeah,
pricing
that
if
can
we're
go
the
from
fleet
100
owner.
to 700 a month.
It could be 700
That could
a
totally
month,
change your.
and it
Yeah.
completely changes all of the economics. And again, it doesn't mean that they're worth nothing. It
Right.
just means that they're worth less. And so
Yeah.
then, when you get into the investment side, so really from the investment side, I saw that within a year you can make your money back for the initial investment of the car, even if it's brand new, by the way,
That's
but
insane.
especially if it's new. And then if it lasts for 3 to 5 years, depending on the amount of mileage you put on it, then all of those next years are essentially profit. Now, there are some contingencies here. To replace a battery at around 200 to 250,000 miles only costs in between 5 and 20 grand, depending on the model you have. Does it make sense again to just go buy another one or just put a new battery in?
Right. I don't know.
There's no engine.
Yeah.
There's no belts. There's no fluids, and all that stuff's gone. So
Yeah.
really, once you have the car, you could just keep putting new batteries in every 250,000 miles, every 250,000 miles, and it would still be less than the cost of a new Tesla.
It's insane. And maybe batteries will innovate by then. I mean, it's, maybe they'll become
Everything
even,
will change, right?
Yeah.
So again,
That's insane.
right. So the concept of the economics is great.
Right.
From a lifestyle perspective, I'm in the business because I have a wealth management firm that I fear, just like anybody who works in intelligence, I think that the price of intelligence is about to make my advice worth less, because you're going to have an AI in your pocket. You're not going to
Right.
potentially need me in every situation that you need me in now. And
Yeah.
so as somebody who wants to look forward and not be unprepared for the future, what happens if I was a physician and, whatever, open AI medical came out and could diagnose anything with more accuracy than me?
Quicker.
And I have all that
No wait
school,
time,
right?
no copays.
Right, and
Yeah.
and that's just a better scenario for the customer, and so the customer is going to choose that. And my advice and my expertise and all my energy and all my effort has now been kind of relegated down to nothing, or not as worth as much. It's become commoditized,
Right.
and so in finance, that's been over 20 something years. It's been easy to see things get commoditized, right? And in this case, AI might commoditize me. So from a standpoint of having a plan B, as somebody who's been successful in this old, more half digital, half analog world, my attempt at building this fleet is to create economic security long term for my family if I'm put out of work by AI.
And if not, it's just a great investment.
If not, it's a great investment.
Are you buying these under an LLC as a business?
So far, I haven't organized it that way.
Okay.
But I'm still exploring how I want to do that, because what you want is liability protection in this
Right.
scenario, and when you're driving a car, the problem has been the insurance. So insurance carriers are going to not like certain structures,
Right.
right? And so if I go to a fleet carrier and I say, hey, I got a fleet of 30 taxis, I could get a quote. If I go to them and say, I have 30 individually owned LLCs, you're going to write me 30 policies for
Right.
30 different owners,
Yeah.
and I got 30 different bills. So there's a lot of questions I have that I don't understand around the liability of building the fleet. I don't understand what liability Tesla takes. I don't understand what I take. There's no case law.
Right.
There's no precedent.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's nothing that I mean, we just don't know.
We don't know what that's going to look
right.
like.
What we have is Uber and Waymo.
And Waymo can't go on the freeway. Is that correct?
Yeah, as of yet, they say they're starting that process, but what they
Okay.
have to do, Waymo is a very cool company in many ways, but in some ways they're kind of wasting my time as somebody who wants to build a fleet, not out of spite or negativity. I don't understand if they've thought it through. How are they going to go to every city in every country in the world? Are they going to buy massive parking lots for their fleets? Are they going to have massive infrastructure in every single city? Are they going to do all that stuff? Because right now they don't let individuals buy Waymos. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
So they have to store them all somewhere.
well, not
And service them and
yeah, you have to
yeah.
store them, you have to service them,
Right.
you have to manage, the people that are going to be involved in all of that stuff. You got to buy the land. These are all very low margin businesses. Google makes like 40% margins gross. It's really dumb for them to get into the land business. Same with Tesla. What the hell are you? Why would you centralize this? Now,
Right.
if you wanted to capture every single dollar and all of that stuff from every dollar driven on FSD, I think that makes sense. And in certain states where land is abundant, maybe Texas, they have a huge fleet. I don't know, Arizona, but like, where are you going to get a massive piece of real estate in New York City?
Right. For Waymo.
I mean, even if you are,
Yeah.
is that the smartest use for your capital if you have 90% margin on FSD software?
Yeah.
Right. So ultimately,
That's interesting.
right. So ultimately, I don't understand the business model for Waymo, because Google is really going to get into the business of managing. Not even Uber does that. Nobody does that.
Right.
Nobody wants that job.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was never a national taxi company that was like in charge of all of it, because it is a terrible job.
Yeah.
And so the reason that I'm bringing that out is because I don't understand what they're doing. Plus, their cars cost like 180 grand.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm going to build a fleet of 20 Teslas, I can do that if these 25,000 one comes out for $500,000.
Yeah.
Okay, that's two Waymos. Two
And that
and a
$500,000 you're saying is going to generate, how many, say you had 10? That's like 50 grand a month of cash flow.
100 grand a week. No, yeah, 50 grand, 100 grand a month.
I mean,
of
after
cash
your
flow.
expenses and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, of cash flow would be around.
That's crazy.
Be around 50 grand a month net with 10 of them. But again, that depends on how many miles you go, right?
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're going to get more miles than Waymo in my spreadsheets and stuff like that, and it's
Is
just
there
very difficult.
any scenario where it makes sense to lease them?
Well, in all of my scenarios, I financed the purchase of the cars.
Oh, you're financing. You're not buying them.
It never
cash.
makes sense to lease, because
Okay.
leases are based on mileage, and
Okay.
if you're
Oh, right.
successful, then you're screwing yourself.
Yeah, because you're gonna go way over and you're gonna mess up.
Right.
Your,
And here's what's really
Makes
going to be
sense.
weird. I don't know how the government is going to do the taxation on these things, because we've talked about depreciation in the past in private conversations, but
Right.
the depreciation of 67 cents a mile my depreciation revenue would be higher than my actual revenue each week, basically.
Because you can we talked about the debate if you can bonus depreciate it.
Well, no, I'm even talking about just even if you straight line depreciated it.
Yeah.
Right now with the IRS, you can depreciate and make payments like for your company. So if you lease a car, you get to write the whole lease payment off,
Right.
and then your fuel, right?
Yeah.
That would be like the actual way of depreciating the car. Then there's the mileage depreciation.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just drive to an appointment with a client, you're supposed to be able to write that off. That's 67 cents a mile.
Yeah.
If I'm charging $1.18 only when it's working, but I'm getting 67 cents a mile for every single mile it's driving.
Yeah.
If it's a 1-to-2 ratio, working to non, because it's got to get to the client,
Right.
the fare, it's got to pick up the person or the object, right?
So you're saying that you wouldn't be able to depreciate the miles on the way to the job?
I'm saying that if it's a taxi, all of it's work.
Right.
So all of it all of those miles would be 100%
Yeah.
depreciable. Well, if they're doing 3,000 miles a week, 2,000 of them are working, and 3,000 of them are total.
Mm-hmm.
I get to write off all three at 67 cents a mile. I get a $2,000 write off
Right.
a week
That's
each
crazy.
car.
Yeah. It's insane.
So even if that's the way that it's going to be,
Right.
then I make as much on depreciation as I make in revenue until the cars are paid off, and then so it's all free.
Right.
At least I think I'm doing that right. I got to talk to a CPA.
Yeah.
But you see my point.
Well, we emailed my tax attorney on it and asked him, and he said you could.
Well, you can. That was maybe based on can I just deduct the whole thing?
Yeah, the bonus depreciation if it was for business, if it was like your business.
Right, and then that might be the same thing too.
Yeah.
And in that case, what you would want to do is you'd want to. I even have a spreadsheet for that where you would want to like replace 5 a year.
Yeah.
So you would want to get your fleet up to 20 to 30 to 40 to 50. And then what you'd want to do is try to replace enough each year to where you can bonus depreciate all your profit away.
That's sick.
Yeah, it would be great.
That's amazing.
But you have to, again, this
You
is
know
all
what
going
got
to be
me-
fleshed out in case law. Because I don't know, honestly, I don't know how taxi companies were in the past, but I don't see how they made money.
Yeah. So I don't
After
know.
the cost of the
Yeah,
car's gone.
I mean, I don't get that either. Like Uber and all. I still DoorDash still blows my mind. Like how I don't understand.
Well, they're not making any money.
Oh, are
If
they a
you look at
zombie
their
company?
stock, yeah. Well, if they are,
Okay.
it's accounting errors, or
So
accounting stuff, whatever.
so what got me into Tesla was I had a buddy. He's like, I was looking at a Tesla and I was on the fence, and I was trying to decide if I was going to buy it or finance it. So I looked up the financing real quick. It was like $400 a month, which I don't do car payments. You know, I just buy cash and I don't like car payments.
I don't either.
But my buddy goes, "How much are you spending on gas each month?" And I'm like, "About 450 a month." Just and he's like, "So it's free." I don't understand.
Yeah.
Why would you not have that?
Yeah, and same.
And
with
I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I was like, "This is a totally different paradigm, like a perspective that took me, someone else showing me."
when that first car I got for my kids, I drove it for a few months because my daughter's turning 16, or
Yeah.
But in that first one, that's why I bought it. Honestly, I went from one of those Genesis SUVs, the GV, whatever. They're really nice. I mean, it's a gorgeous car.
Yeah, you had a nice car.
I hated the payment, and I hated the gas bill. My gas bill is about $800 a month with how much I drove
Yeah.
to see people.
Well, yeah, you're all over.
And so when I'm doing that and I'm looking at the economics, it's it was, again, I can afford it, and blah, blah, I don't want to have a scarcity mindset my whole life, all that
Right.
stuff. But I was looking at it, and it wasn't better than any of the other cars I've had in terms of like the drive. It was nice and luxury, but it was very expensive. It made 0 sense compared to having no gas payment.
Yeah.
And then I was really worried about range. I've had to do, meaning only had to because of range. I've only had to since April of last year use a supercharger twice.
Yeah, I've had a Tesla for a year. I just used my first supercharger.
Right, yeah. It was the first time, because every day it's full of fuel when I go
Yeah.
into the garage.
I was all nervous about it when I pulled. I'm like, how am I going to do this? It's the easiest thing in the
it's
world.
literally
It's
the best
literally
ever,
like literally plug it in and it's done.
And you walk
Yeah.
away. And I have friends, like one of my coworkers, he is just, he insists, and he might be right, that the most efficient is a hybrid.
Okay.
Because you only fill up once a month or twice a month anyway. It depends on how much you drive, all this other kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And he's like, but a couple times a year, I like to drive to go to the mountains or something. And during that time, I don't want to have to stop too long. But I'm doing the math. I'm like, an entire year of not going to the gas station,
Right.
never having to worry about it ever again. Like, it's literally never on your mind.
Yeah.
Compared to stopping once or twice for 20 minutes to recharge.
Yeah.
And I just don't think I don't think people are there yet. But I wasn't. A year ago, I didn't own a Tesla. A year ago, I didn't understand. A year ago, I thought range was more important. A year ago, I didn't really understand that this full self-driving software wasn't lane assist from Genesis. Right. Which is just like stops me from dying if I'm not paying attention. But this is like for a legitimate piece of software that's going to change the world. So,
Dude, you know what is the biggest takeaway for me was like I don't go to gas stations anymore.
yeah. And there's
I'm
way
saving
too many
so much money because we're in the same
crappy
lifestyle for
food.
the last 10 years, right? You go in and grab a chips and a soda.
Yeah, all that's gone.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, all the crappy food, all the you want some, Zyn or whatever.
Right.
Those little things
Yeah.
people are getting.
Yeah.
All the tobacco, all that crap is gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, and you don't waste any of your time doing it.
Yeah.
And you never have to worry about it.
Right.
I never even think about gas.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, I was in my wife's car the other day, and we had to get gas, and she's like, "Oh, you have to get gas." And I looked down, and I was totally empty. Like I did not pay attention because I'm not used to it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird to go drive other cars. It's like, but we'll wrap up with this because I love your perspective on Tesla, and I want to hear your thought. And if you want to follow, Dustin's documenting this whole journey on Twitter or X. So what's your handle on it, or what is that called?
Yeah,
I'm not big on
just
Twitter.
look for my name, Dustin Lester, and then it's at Fleet Builders. So FleetBuilders.
Yeah, Dustin's one of the brightest advisors. I've worked with him for 10 years. I have him work with some of my personal assets. He's just an incredible mentor and friend to me, and he's got some cool things to share on Twitter. So make sure you follow him there. Is Dustin Lester at Fleet Builder?
Yeah, if you're
On
looking
X.
for the at thing, I'm not a tech guy. It's at Fleet Builders is the like the Twitter handle, and then you can change your name to whatever you want.
Yeah, that's
right
so
now
awesome.
It's just my name, Dustin.
And he has a super successful and incredible wealth management firm that we've worked with for years. And so if you have any questions or need anything, reach out to this guy.
All right,
Thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks.